Well, Tasha and Russell, they both love reading books. Tasha and Russell, they both love reading books. Well, what do you do when you share such love?
Welcome to
Well,
the
you start a club, you
115th
start a
episode of
club,
the
an adult
ABC
book club,
Pod,
an
the
adult
Adult Book
book
Club with Tasha and Russell.
club,
I
and
am
a
Russell. She is Tasha.
podcast.
Hello.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the podcast where we drink and we read things. And on this episode, we read Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix.
I like the
But
cover.
before we get to that, it has been 2 weeks, Tasha. What has been going on in your life?
I like so much adulting. So much. So last Friday, we're just chilling, watching TV, and we hear an alarm go off. Not like a fire alarm, but like an alarm that's kind of like distant. We're like, what the hell is that? I like immediately was like, oh, it's one of the cars in the garage. It was not. It was downstairs in the utility room. There is a little alarm on the wall for the septic tank pump. It's the pump alarm, which when Googling it, you can silence it, thankfully, very easy to do. Googling it, it's basically like your tank is getting full because the float
Yeah.
floats. Um, and then it alarms if it's in a dangerous spot. So it was like, stop using, like don't do laundry, don't do the dishwasher, like limit your water usage. And I was like, oh my God, flushing the toilet, what do we do? So that was like 8:30 at night, and we were like, all right, we'll like
On a
call
Friday.
on a Friday.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool, we'll figure this out in the morning. So we just did like what we do when there's like a power outage and our battery is doing the power. We like turn everything off. We use like very minimal stuff. So we just like didn't do anything water related for a while. Um, and then like first thing Saturday morning, I found some septic people in the area. This one was like all the way in Burlington, but they had really good reviews. So I called them. It was like 6 a.m. The guy was super friendly and very helpful, was like, take a picture, like open the cover, take a picture of it, and I'll like diagnose how like emergent the situation is.
Yeah.
So I texted him some pictures and he was like, okay, so it's about half full, which means you've got like 72 hours. Um, so he explained that the float alarm like goes off way earlier than like an emergency so
Yeah.
that you have some time to like say you're in the middle of a load of lawn, like it's what?
It's half full, only half full, and it's like going off.
Yeah. So he also was like, there could be something wrong with the alarm mechanism, like the float thing.
Yeah.
So he was like, I think my schedule is full for Monday, but maybe I can come out on Tuesday. Like the office will call you. So we're like, all right, we'll just keep minimizing our water usage this weekend, whatever. And then Monday, first thing Monday, their office calls me. Everyone's so great. And she was like, he told me the situation, and I explained a little bit more too. And then she was like, I'm gonna call him again because his schedule is out all the way till Wednesday. So like he won't be able to get there right away. And I was like, we've lived here for 10 years and have never had our septic tank pumped. So like it's probably time anyway.
Hmm.
So we schedule it to happen. Like we get home and it's been pumped and cleaned and the outlet filter has been cleaned. The guy did a great job like putting the ground back together where he had to dig up something. Um, and they were like, it was so full of sludge that it couldn't pump uphill. Because 10 years. I mean,
Yeah.
like we're only two butts, but that's 10 years is a long time. Um, and we're pretty certain that the people we bought the house from also hadn't done it. Um, so anyway, don't have to have him come and repair anything because it likely isn't even an issue, which is great.
Yeah.
And so it's only like the cost of pumping the tank, which like needed to happen anyway. Um, and then I was on a roll and I like wrote a bunch of Google reviews for like things that have happened recently, like our guy who did our road. And then he texted me like right after I wrote the review and was like, hey, can you give me a call when you get a chance? Like, I want to just talk with you about basically he wanted business advice. It was really sweet. And we talked for like an hour. Um, and then he was like, he had a really rough year last year. And was like, when I came by to talk to Barry about the road, he just made me feel so good. Like every time I had conversations with him, I left feeling great. And he was like, if I had to describe Barry to a complete stranger, I would call him Mr. Positive Reinforcement. And it was so cute.
So he gave you a verbal Google review of
He
your
did
husband.
of my husband, yeah, as if I had anything to do with that. Um,
That's
but it was really sweet. And then I made an appointment to have our oven repaired because I had been putting in replacement parts for the igniter myself multiple times. I think I'd done it 4 times.
Hmm.
And this last time I was like, fuck it, I'm not dealing with it. And so it's been broken for like a year and we haven't been able to use the bottom oven. The guy came this morning, fixed it, was like, stop buying parts off of Amazon, you dingbat. And then yeah, so I won't be doing that anymore. But also that was an expensive repair.
Hmm.
So lots of adulting. And it's snowing and it's the first day of spring.
Well, they can't all be
I
winners.
think that covers it.
Nice. Hey, that was a lot. So
It was a lot.
that's a good two
I'm
weeks.
usually really bad at this, and I'm like, I just went to work.
Yeah. Well, it's
Um,
funny. I ran out of like my hockey podcast, so I re-listened to last week's or whatever 2 weeks ago episode.
yeah,
We did the what's been going on in our life in like 2 minutes. We're like nothing. Let's move on. So
not much, not
great
much.
stuff is happening.
I mean, like the world is literally falling apart.
Yep. So good.
So good.
For me, my 2 weeks, first of all, it started last or 2 weeks ago. We had our 20th high school reunion, which I chauffeured some of our friends to, but I didn't actually go to for reasons. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, there wasn't anything wild that came out of it. No crazy stories or anything like that. So, the guys caught up with a couple people that they really wanted to and got stuck in some conversations they didn't want to. So I feel like that's exactly
Sounds
how
like a
we
normal
do. Yep.
reunion.
So while they were doing that, me, Alden, and Jay went to a steakhouse and got steaks, and we went to actually the place where Joey works because I don't know if any of us had ever been there. So it's like real fancy. It's at a country club, and it's like that was one of those places where you just order steak, and it's like $60, and then you have to order sides as well, and
Yes.
yeah.
And they're all each like $20.
Oh yeah, and you had to wear a collared shirt, so it was like very much treat yourself night.
Hmm.
Because they didn't have any like nice beers, so I just got one drink while I was there, and it was the house special or whatever, and it was a smoky old fashioned, and it came with like the cloche with the smoke,
Oh, of the
like
smoke.
waft it. Yeah,
Wow.
uh,
Was it good?
it was good. Yeah, it
Nice.
was all good.
Yeah.
So we Joey knew we were coming. He was working that night, and he's like the head chef. He runs the kitchen, and so the woman, the manager who sat us, was like, "Oh, you're Joey's friend." So we're like, "Yep." And,
Nice.
she's like, "Cool." And the waitress comes over, gets her drinks. We like put in for one appetizer, and so she comes over with the plates, and then she comes back with some chopsticks, and she's like, "Oh, chef decided that you guys didn't order enough, and you need some sushi as well." So we
You do
got three
sushi too?
three trays of sushi, and then on by the time the food came out, the dinner came out, it was like this is too much. It was way
Yeah.
too much. But it was great. And then she was like dessert, and I was like, no, and tell them not to send any out. Like previously. So afterwards, we met up with Joe. He gave us a tour of the place. It was really cool. It was good to
Cool.
catch up with him. Hadn't seen him in a while. So
Nice.
and then we went back and picked up, our children at their reunion, and we went back to Roy's, and we ended up staying up until like 4 in the morning,
Oh,
just telling stories, drinking, playing games.
that's great.
To be fair, it was the day that we skipped ahead or whatever, or sprung ahead. So it was
Yeah.
only three, but it was still terrifying to like look at the clock and be like, "Holy fuck, it's 3:30!" Like, I need.
Yeah.
The next day was so rough. Anyway.
Yeah.
Aside from that, as far as on the home front, this has been the week of the driveway's so shit, as you know. And it's been shit for a while. It has no like what do they call that?
Grade.
Grade, thank you. So it's just about creating channels to get water off the driveway.
Oh
So
no.
that's been part of my 2 weeks too, is we had like an instant melt here as we had a couple warm days and suddenly 4 foot snowbanks are melting all at once. So it was like every day I would go out for a couple times a day and just like make sure my little rivers were going the right way and trying to keep as much water off the driveway as I could. So that was fun. We've also had some incredible wind, which was like, hey, by the way, I'm going to start throwing around pieces of your hockey rink. So you might want to take that down. So Monday or Tuesday, I forget, we lost power overnight. And then I woke up to some of the rink being blown into the rink. So had to start taking that apart. And then today, this morning, kind of because of the water buildup and all the ice, the wall furthest away from the house had broken away from the rest of it, just broke through the screws and kind of started going. When I saw it, it was at like a 70 degree. So I started taking it apart and it fully fell down. And I was like, okay, I was trying to do like a piecemeal bit where it's like, I'll just take this part down and like whatever. And it became, no, we need to do everything right now. So that sucks. And that's a pain in the ass. Aside from that, I did adult things too. And I went and got a physical for the first time in like probably 20 years.
Wow.
Yes. This all stems back to I had to go to the doctors back in January because I had some vertigo issues, and they were like, "Hey, you need a new patient visit." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not a new patient. I've only come to this hospital." And they're like, "Well, we don't have a record of you since 2017." And I was like, "Yeah, that's it. That's the last time I went to a hospital."
I'm not new.
So they were like, you need to do this. And we kind of agreed to do a physical, which ended up being really dumb because I got in and I met the doctor again. We had already talked and he's like, okay, so we kind of already did all the blood work that we were going to do for this when you came in January. And we kind of did all the stuff we would do anyway. So is there like anything you want to talk about? He was like,
I'm just breaking,
I'm
so
like, no, I'm like, my back is in terrible pain. He's like, oh, well, we can talk about that. I'm like, no, it's my own fault. That's fine. He's like, we can get you physical therapy. I'm like, the last doctor I talked to said physical therapy wouldn't work because I have hyperflexibility syndrome and I have a missing curve in my spine. And he's like, yeah, no, that wouldn't work for you. I'm like, cool, thanks. I'll be on my way.
oh, healthcare. You
So
so
yeah,
crazy.
but I will say, I mean, having paid for the visits I did back in January, at least our insurance is working. So that's
Hey, that's good.
like the payments I've had to put forward haven't been that bad. So
That's good.
but he was like, we could do some of my shockingly, some of my liver numbers came back high after in that blood test back in January, but it was literally the 2 days after Sean's wedding where I drank
Um, a
way too
lot.
much. And I was honest with him. I told him I'm a binge drinker. And he's like, well, let's just run those numbers again. And those came back good. He's like,
Oh, good.
you didn't like go out this weekend, did you? I was like, no. He's like, let's see how it looks. And he's like, oh, it looks good. You're fine. Good.
Okay,
A good 38 and a half. So, um,
nice.
and when I was coming back from that, I saw my first coyote, which was very exciting. It was more exciting that it was on my road and not at my house. I very much appreciated being about a mile away from the house when I saw that. I sent a picture to my father-in-law, who's like an actual man, an outdoorsman, and he's like, "That's a big one." I'm like, "Oh, how can you tell?" Because he told us that if a bear has small ears, it's a big bear. And I was like, "Is it the same as a bear?" He's like, "I don't know. I can just look at the body and tell you that's a big coyote."
That's funny.
Thanks. I guess I'm an idiot. But the point of this story is to tell you that I posted it on my Instagram, which means this is your every episode reminder to follow us on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. You can do it at Adult Book Club 21. That is all one word. Adult Book Club, the number 21. And you can see our pretty faces as every episode that we've recorded since episode 104, I think, or something like that, is now on YouTube. So if you want to see what the people behind the voices sound like, check us out there or on Instagram or Twitter. I will say that's one of the weird things. I listen to a lot of sports talk radio, and I feel like the voices never match the people. Like I'd be interested to,
Often that's
yeah,
the case.
be
Yeah.
interested to like know what people think we look like without ever
I
seeing.
feel like the only people that are watching this already know what we look like.
That's yeah, but we still have like 30 something listeners, and maybe not all of them know us.
Yeah.
Who knows? Anyway, we appreciate all of you for tuning in however you do. And on that note, and that very long catch up, look at our lives. 2 weeks we've been
My
doing
dad will
that.
not be pleased.
So sorry. We're moving back to the book, which once again is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. And Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. Oh, gotcha. And Witchcraft for Wayward Girls was the 12th novel published by Hendrix and was released in 2025. He has also written 2 short stories and another collection of short stories, a comic, a novella, and 4 screenplays. He
Whoa.
finds I so much. 2 of the screenplays were based on books he had already written, but the
Oh.
others were other things. He finds interesting ways to promote his book tours
Mm.
as he finds traditional touring to be boring. So in 2020, not like anything else was happening in the world anyway, he created the podcast Super Scary Haunted Homeschool, which discussed the history of vampires, which he used to promote his novel, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which was the other one I had read before this. And for his following novel, The Final Girl Support Group, he created a one-man show to perform during the tour, which just
Whoa.
yeah, right. So he sounds like a very interesting, creative,
He
kind of
does. Yeah.
weird in a good way guy. And both of those novels are now slated for television adaptation. So he's got his
Nice.
hands in a lot of pies right now.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. And I will say, like, he does seem to be one of like the up and coming. I mean, up and coming. He's been writing for like 15 years. But
Well,
he seems to be a
popularity. Coming up in popularity.
like new age horror kind of person and fitting
Yeah.
that space that like Stephen King set out if you think of somebody who did so many adaptations of their work or let it
Yeah.
happen. So on that note, Taja, if you want to read us the jacket, we will jump into our story.
All right. They were never girls, they were witches. They call them wayward girls, loose girls, girls who grew up too fast, and they're sent to the Wellwood house in St. Augustine, Florida, where unwed mothers are hidden by their families to have their babies in secret, to give them up for adoption, and important of all, to forget any of it ever happened. 15-year-old Fern arrives at the home in the sweltering summer of 1970, pregnant, frightened, and alone. Under the watchful eye of the stern Miss Wellwood, she meets a dozen other girls in the same predicament. There's Rose, a hippie who insists she's going to find a way to keep her baby and escape to a commune, and Zinnia, a budding musician who plans to marry her baby's father, and Holly, a wisp of a girl, barely 14, mute and pregnant by no one knows who. Everything the girls eat, every moment of their waking day, and everything they're allowed to talk about is strictly controlled by the adults who claim they know what's best for them. Fern meets a librarian who gives her an occult book about witchcraft, and the power is in the hands of the girls for the first time in their lives. But power can destroy as easily as it creates, and it's never given freely. There's always a price to be paid, and it's usually paid in blood.
Nice. And I will say, for those of you listening, on some of these books, when Taja reads an ebook, I send her the back of the book. So you're reading that off your screen off a very
It's
small.
so small. I was like, oh no. And then if I like zoomed in, I'd have to like move it around a
You
bunch. That was a
get lost.
struggle bus.
Yeah. No, you did great. So as it mentioned there, and I will say, as part of the girls going into the home, I guess I covered this in the first question too. Sometimes I just run ahead of myself. The girls are given new names based on plants or flowers because it's all about anonymity. Crushed it. While her name isn't Fern in the book for almost the entire time we know her, she is called Fern. So our main character is Neva Craven. But when she gets to the home, she is given the name Fern. So, what did you think of our main character as we got to know her?
I was like kind of conflicted about her. Like sometimes she was really naive and annoying, and then sometimes she was really brave and strong, which like honestly is maybe kind of like age realistic.
Yeah.
So I guess from we've read stories before that are like coming of age stories, or the protagonist is young and is just like perfect at everything. And I guess I appreciate that she's clearly not perfect at everything and she's figuring herself out. Sometimes she bothered me.
Yeah.
But she is also only 14 or 15,
15.
whatever.
Yeah.
15. So I get it. Um, so I guess like overall, I think she was portrayed very realistically.
Yeah, and that was the first thing that stood out to me was the realism. Like this felt like we were just sitting with these girls,
Mhm.
and each of them you could believe that they existed. The
Totally.
naivete was the first thing I wrote down too. But I appreciate it because she's a 15-year-old
It
girl, like
makes
you said,
sense.
and it
Yeah.
makes sense. Like she's in this scenario for a reason. And so and it was crazy just the sign of the times or because of the stigma around it, how little she knew and how
Yeah.
little all these new girls knew about what to expect and how much of what they were going through was handled by adults that they didn't know who were just telling them very small amounts of details and left the rest up to them where it was like if you questioned it don't question me, I'm the doctor or I'm the woman in charge or I'm the nurse, whatever. So that was scary in itself. So I appreciated how, again, as you said, like it was interesting that there'd be moments where she chose to be brave, but like that happens in real life too, where it's like
Hmm.
certain situations happen where either you feel more comfortable or you finally think like, okay, I need to do something, or
Yeah.
I know I'm scared, but I need to try to help, whatever.
Hmm.
Again, and it didn't happen every time, which showed that she was a true person. I also appreciated that she reminded me of myself growing up, where she was very book smart and very intelligent but super dumb when it came to the ways of the world. Like zero street smarts.
Yeah, she definitely had zero street smarts. I agree. I also think she was um maybe not like the only, but one of the girls in the story that was sort of the least selfish. Like a lot of them, I mean, they're dealing with, like you said, the stigma that society's placed on them, and it's frustrating that so much of they're having to deal with the ramifications of something that in a lot of cases wasn't entirely their fault.
Yeah.
In most cases wasn't entirely their fault, and they're the ones that whose lives are being forever changed, and all these freaking boys are just like going about their business, and it's so frustrating that families did this. Like this is real. It's
Yeah.
freaking wild.
Yeah. This is another one. We'll get into that in the next question. Like this happened in 1970 and this was a real thing. And the more you read about that and kind of see it through Fern's eyes, and I think that's where this book really shone through was making her come off the page, make her be so
Yes.
believable, make her somebody that you sympathize and empathize for. And she's like an underdog and all these good things about her. So that when she's struggling with this or when she's being singled out, like you said, like her family, her smaller siblings are told that she's going to spend time with her aunt, whatever, but her parents make the decision that she needs to go to one of these homes and like again, have the baby, give it up, pretend it never happened because that's the way it should work. And all the fear that she has and all the how scared she is and everything that she's going through that people won't help her with. And like, yeah, she's getting most of her answers from the other girls in the home, which range from 14 to I think the oldest might have been 19 or 20,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
but all going through it for the first time. So it's not
Well,
like they really know either.
that and like you were, I think, alluding to is that like nobody's telling them anything. Nobody's giving them information. And like if you want to um keep them childlike or whatever, I don't know what the reasons for this would be, but like if you're trying to protect them from something, you're not. You're
Yeah.
not succeeding in that. Like this is a life altering thing that they're doing, and they would be in a much better position if they were told honestly, like don't sugarcoat it, but like explain things and help them walk them through the the nitty-gritty of it
Yeah.
instead
Well,
of just controlling everything, which is just so
and
adult.
unfortunately for them, and it's a little bit spoilery, but we definitely see it highlighted when once she gets to the hospital to deliver the baby.
Absolutely.
But like everybody here is concerned about the baby and not her,
Yeah, exactly.
for sure.
This is Handmaid's Tale, like baby farming,
Yeah.
basically.
And she's just a piece of meat that everyone,
Yep.
like it says there, they're
An
loose
incubator.
girls and they grew up too fast and
Yep.
they were like,
It's
they,
their fault.
they sinned.
Yep.
So now we have to protect the child and make sure and
Right.
obviously the home that's where they make their money. Like
Right.
that underlying current of like, oh,
It's a
everything's paid
profit.
for, and we have a doctor on hand, and we have a nurse, and like all your food is here, and oh my God, this is like, why are you doing this for these wayward girls? Because we sell that baby for a fuck ton of money.
Not only that, but like I'm assuming that a lot of the parents are paying for their kid to be there. So like
Only some of
payment,
them.
okay, so
So they
some of
did
them
say
get,
that, yeah.
but like money coming in that way, money coming
Yeah.
in with the babies that you've just farmed, like,
Yeah.
and meanwhile, I think this is what I was trying to say before. It was that Holly, or not Holly, Fern, like has a selfless streak that I don't think a lot of the other girls have. And like understandably so. If you were in that kind of situation, it's sort of like a fight or flight would happen where you're like, I have to protect myself.
Yeah.
But I think that that is one thing that I really did like about her, how that really shone through about um, you know, doing what was best for Holly and like not really thinking about herself. I mean,
Yeah.
she does later, and then I'm like, that was kind of annoying, but
Yeah. Yeah. No, that character change frustrated me, but it
yeah,
was believable still because of what
it
she's gone
was
through.
because she's a kid.
And like,
Yeah.
yeah, Jesus. But you're right. I liked how like she hung on, or like she defended the outcasts, right? And so
Yeah.
did Rose.
Yeah.
When Zinnia comes, and we'll get into the secondaries later on, but Zinnia is a black girl from up north who was like brought in under the cover of shadow. And because there's no room left at the inn, they talk about putting her in the attic. And Rose is like, no, fuck that. I'll go in the attic. She should
Yeah.
have a room. I'm about out of here anyway. And then Holly, being the youngest one there, that everyone thinks is mute and a little bit dumb, same thing where like they end up being her roommates, so they have that connection anyway. But like the moments of her and Holly, or like sleeping together and like laying in bed together, and kind of that closeness and having somebody that you could lean on. I don't see a lot of the other girls there doing that. And like
Yeah.
I'm getting too much into Holly, but like her stealing, Holly being a little klepto, and then like paying it off by like sharing with Fern, and then Fern being a little klepto too.
Yes.
I really enjoyed that, and kind of seeing how they looked out for each other, but how they like again they just
They like,
leaned on each other, where like
yeah.
neither of them knows what the fuck's going on. We
Yes.
know our due dates are around the same time, so we are quite literally going through a similar situation,
Right.
obviously from different
Right.
ways that we got here, but. Yeah, I
Totally.
really liked her. I think that the one of the best parts about it, when we talked about last book, kind of the issue, the Trail of Lightning, one of the issues being like, I don't really get what the villain's point of view is. Like, why are they doing
Or
this?
like
Like, there's
motivation,
yeah, their
like where
motivation
is
was
it?
kind of muddy. Why did you choose this person? Why are you going
Yeah.
after Hosky? What was her name? Anyway, why
Maggie.
Maggie,
Maggie.
thank you. I'm like, how do I know the last name? They said it literally once. Why are you going after Maggie? Well, here it made like Fern was the perfect canvas, block of clay, whatever. So once the witching side comes in, which is about a third of the way through the book, so it's
Yeah.
not really obviously it's in the title, witches happen. It made sense why she would be targeted because again, she's looking for answers the only way she knows how in
In
books.
books. Yeah. Yeah.
So I liked that all around her character, I thought really made sense and really worked very well.
Yeah, and I think like we said at the beginning, just so realistic that she really like pops off the page.
Yeah, yeah, you knew this person, or
Hmm.
whatever. You could absolutely see yourself sitting with them.
Totally.
So moving on to setting, our setting is the 1970s in the fictional Wellwood house in Florida. What did you think of the world Hendrix placed us in?
I mean, like, I wasn't alive in the 70s, but it just was it seemed very real, like too real. Um, the afterward was really helpful to read, and the sort of effort that he put into making things historically accurate. Um, but just like, I know that, I mean, America's not stellar. Humans pretty much suck. So it's not surprising that societally this happened.
Hmm.
But it is wild that it's like not that long ago. And honestly, like that stigma still exists. There's probably still a version of this that happens. And so that was wild. I think he did a great job. I mean, we talked about it before we started recording. For a dude, incredibly convincingly well written, and not in a coming in and taking over a space. Like he's not a woman. He's
Yeah.
never given birth. He's never been in this scenario as an unwed young underage mother.
Yeah.
But I didn't at all disbelieve the way he was presenting it. So I think he did a really, really good job.
Yeah, and I think that they laid out the book very well with
Mm.
the introduction before we even get into the story with the afterword, where even in the acknowledgments, what he wrote there, and just saying like, look, I know I'm like a middle-aged man who doesn't have kids, so it doesn't make sense why I'm writing this. But he talks about how I think there was two people in his family or close to him
Yep.
that had um, some experience with
Yep.
one of these homes, and like he realized that there's so many people that have an experience with these homes, and it was something that had kind of flown under his radar, and he's like, well, I feel like it's probably flown under a lot of radars, so like,
Find
well,
some light on it.
yeah, maybe I'm not the one who like needs to write about it, but I could write about it, kind of situation. Like, I just think being upfront about that,
Yeah.
just having the 2.5 pages at the beginning of the book to say, hey, here's my mindset. Like, I love it's the same thing with like behind the scenes in movies or whatever, like where they're like, here's what we were thinking. Like, I don't know if
Yeah.
you saw this, but this is what I was doing. I love that when authors do that. Like, here's
Yeah.
the breadcrumb of the idea, the seed of it, like Brandon
Yeah.
Sanderson did with his like, I had my magic system, I had my
Yes.
character, I knew where I was going.
Hmm.
When you give us that kind of look behind the curtain, it makes me, I don't know, it just I understand that time goes into every novel, trust me, but it just kind of pulls back the curtain where you can be like, oh, okay, now I get why a childless man is giving me this point of view. And at no point did I ever think like, well, I don't think that's right. I mean, not that I would know either. I'm not an unwed pregnant mother either, but he stayed true to the characters, and like he did not make them more or less than what they were. I think he stayed really true to the people he was trying to portray.
Yeah, I mean, I think he, like you said, with the preface or whatever, being it puts the whole thing into perspective. So you're not going into it thinking he's trying to, like you said before, mansplain the situation. That's not the goal. Um, and then the afterward, um, he like is very gracious about, I know, like, I mean, a lot of authors do this. Like, if there's any mistakes, like, they're
Yeah,
not the people who helped me, they're mine.
yeah,
And like, I think that it's it's like an important, I guess, story, but like an important part of society to recognize. Um, and if like he can tell the story in a convincingly, but also his style way, that like maybe more people would be putting down the book and gaining knowledge about something. I think
yeah.
that's good.
And again, to your point, like it's the fact that this is, our parents' generation, are pretty close to it. That would have that this still would have been happening for.
Yeah.
It's just wild to think
Yeah.
of something that close to our timeline, as we talked about with other stories. When this is not like I didn't, not that I look up much about pregnancy in general, but this is not something I really knew anything about before we got into this book. And
Me neither.
reading about it was very eye-opening, which is another thing that I appreciate about reading, where
Totally.
somebody could, again, this is like obviously it's the setting of the book. It's a main part of the book. Fern is
Right.
pregnant. All the
Right.
girls are pregnant.
Right.
But like I think he even mentions in the afterwards, he's like that I think the idea of witches didn't come until his third draft or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just interesting how you can take this and just see where you go with it. Um,
Totally.
I did appreciate that because going into this, like kind of thinking horror, right? Because the little
Mm.
blurb I had read was there. And the vampire one I had read obviously had some horror
And
involved in
the
it too.
the back you just sent me, it says horror on it. Like that's how a bookstore would like shelve it.
Yeah. I think the way the horror was used or portrayed was through the fear of the girls, through the
Well, the
anxiety.
reality of the situation,
Yeah,
not the fantasy of it.
through the lack of control. Like
Yeah.
honestly, the fear. Yes, spoilers before spoilers. The witches came into it towards the end. The magic, and like as everything has a cost, and how that cost evened out came towards came part in the end. But for the most part, the fear was Fern going to
The
her first
unknown.
checkup with Dr. Vincent, and how he feels no need to explain to her anything what's going on, and everything she goes through there, and her conversations with Diane, who like who's the social worker who appears to be on your side, and then you see her true colors later on. Obviously, again, you're me. We're here for the baby. So, like
They're
that
not
was the horror side of it, and then coming back to the fact that countless thousands of women had gone through this, had been put through homes like this, and some were probably worse. It's just, yeah, that was
they're
not the horror I was expecting, but I felt it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like the horror of being treated as a like commodity and not as a person, as a child is like extra horrific. And just like the 70s, um, it wasn't that long ago. It also is on a similar vein as like, what is a woman couldn't like open a bank account or something without
Yeah.
a husband's signature or a man's signature. Like it just is very much in line with that reality. And like I don't know, it's like a feminist book written by a man.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't understand, and this is just my liberal fucking white maleness, but like I just don't understand why people have just always assumed women are lesser. Like, how does that make any sense, guys? What the fuck are we doing?
It's a great
Uh,
question.
it's fucking men. That's the problem.
Yeah,
Fucking men.
yeah, they
But
are the problem.
before we go down that slope,
We'll get
again,
off the soapbox and keep
yes,
talking about the
put those
books.
aside, take a step down. Let's talk about our secondary characters. So Fern forms, that's great writing. A group of friends, Fern forms friends with three other girls in the home. What did you think of our secondary characters with Rose, Zinnia, and Holly?
So Rose was like a little bit tropey. Well, I shouldn't say tropey, but just like all the stereotypes of like a hippie rolled into one person. But also she was awesome.
Rose was awesome.
Yeah,
Rose thought she was going to break the system and change everything,
I
and
love
Rose
that.
was maybe the most naive, and then also the most angry.
But she also, I think, was maybe maybe not the most strong, but I think like I commend the speaking out and the standing up. And even if it's a lot of bluster and not a lot of action because you're a kid and you don't really have any agency, or power, um, she even pretending that you do and telling yourself that you do can be powerful, I
Yeah.
guess, can be helpful, useful, whatever. And I think that she really like gave out an aura to the other girls, especially Fern and Zinnia and Holly and stuff. She lended them some strength, I think.
Yeah, I think Rose was like 17-ish, somewhere in
A
there.
little older.
And like even though they weren't supposed to talk about their real selves, I appreciated that she
Talked about her
discusses
plans.
she talks about her plans, and she talks about how she was supposed to end up with that guy, the third, whatever his name was,
Yeah.
some rich fuck. And his dad basically cut him a check to send him to San Francisco to start his recording career and to forget about Rose and the baby. And like Rose's big thing that she hung on was, I want to know how much that check was because that's how much I'm worth. And like,
That's such a Banff thing to.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, that can go one of two ways, depending on how big the check was. That could be very,
Right?
very hurtful. But I did appreciate, like, at first she comes off kind of like, not annoying, but like,
But
that,
preachy and like loud
yes.
and yeah.
Yeah, just loud for the sake of being loud. But you see that very quickly, her, like, she is overly confident, I think, to protect herself.
Oh yeah, it's
She's
a
definitely,
defense mechanism
yeah,
for sure.
using that as a shield, but she's also like uh very true to those girls that she becomes friends
Yeah.
with. And like, yes, well, some of the hippie side of it is a little bit overdone and it probably played up a little bit more. She's just ahead of her time. And I think we
Yeah.
see that throughout where it's like what Rose is trying to do. Like Rose, I think Rose understood the situation a lot more than the rest of them, obviously.
The
And,
reality of like the adults screwing with them and
and
like
she,
yeah.
but she still had a bit of her childhood naivete where she thought
Hmm.
she could beat the system. So
Hmm.
I understand like again everything about her even to the point where she breaks like
Yeah.
everything that happens to her is so heartbreaking and yet understanding and it forms her and like yeah I really appreciated her whole
Big
story.
time.
I thought that that was just a great person for Fern to look up
Oh yeah.
to and like know was out there because especially
Yeah.
Fern's she's so like subdued and like she's
Yeah.
just this little
She's like
girl
a
from
bookworm.
Alabama. Yeah, who's a
Yeah.
bookworm who like the guy whatever he was, football jock or whatever, found her attractive and was an
Took
asshole.
advantage of her.
It really annoyed me. His name was Guy. No offense to guys that listen, but I hate when it's Guy.
Guy feels like such a cop out of a name.
It just draws me off every time I read it. I'm like, wait, is that Guy or is it a guy? No, it's Guy. God damn it. Anyway, but like I feel like
Lowercase G guy or uppercase G guy.
I feel like she didn't have a Rose in her hometown in Alabama. So like this was a great like as terrible as this experience is for her, like meeting these people, meeting her, meeting Zinnia and even Holly to a point of like understanding that your situation may be bad right now, but there's worse out there for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought all came together really well.
Well, that and I think she did a good job recognizing that,
Hmm.
especially when she learned about Holly's situation. All of them. I mean, anytime they shared whatever little bits they shared, I think it was kind of an eye-opening, like a thing. And I think she did a good job not being like that. There wasn't like one-upmanship
Yeah,
happening, which would have been obnoxious, honestly. I hate that.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I appreciated that all of them, I think, recognized that aspect of things.
Yeah, and recognize that they're all in the shit right now for sure.
Yeah.
And like it's
It's
good to hold
like
on.
solidarity.
Yeah, solidarity. It's good to hold on to those dreams, but also you need some realistic
Yeah.
viewpoints of what's
Yeah.
actually happening to you. Um, Kind of on that note, with Zinnia, I thought she was basically the voice of reason, and we see
Mm.
that really come out obviously as like the witching comes into play. And she's the one that backs out first and is trying to be like, hey, I don't know, like this, what do we really know about these people? Why are we getting this stuff? This seems weird to me.
I fully understand why she did that, and I think like I can see a lot of me in her in that respect and being like, I don't know. And I appreciate that she was strong enough to be like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
But I was really disappointed that she basically like bailed on her girls.
It was tough, both sides of that relationship because they like fell in really quickly and they were like, oh,
Hmm.
I love you too. Like, we're here for each other. And
Yeah.
then Zinnia bailed on him and Fern lied to her like pretty
Yeah.
easily. And it just felt like both of them were like, it's supposed to be a two-way street. And both of them were a little one-way with each other
Yeah.
at different points. So that was frustrating. And it was interesting to see, like, I don't know. I mean, Zinnia still pulled on Fern later on and kind of, I don't know, forced her into doing what she wanted. So that wasn't great. But also, once Fern was in, she was in. I don't know.
But
Maybe
then
that was the
also
kick she
Zinnia,
needed.
yeah, but then Zinnia also does end up like helping. You know what I mean? Like being there for them.
She's like the only one that really keeps her word to Holly in the end.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and to be fair, spoilers before spoilers, but Holly or sorry, Fern has gone through the childbirthing process and her viewpoints have changed because of that.
And that was actually something that I found a little bit obnoxious, but it totally makes sense again because she's only 15. But there were like so many times after she had the baby and went through all of that she, I feel like, absolutely dismissed things that the other girls were saying because they hadn't. And like I get it, but also you have to recognize that like they're in a different place than you.
Yeah, she felt like she grew up like 5 years ahead of them.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
But also like take that with like a just because you did this thing doesn't negate their feelings or their
Yeah.
whatever. So that was kind of an annoying, but again, she's 15, so like it makes sense that that's her kind of black and white.
And also her like time had come where like now she's just counting down literally the days until she's
Yeah.
like, this is all behind me. This is what they said. Like, I'm gonna forget
Yeah.
everything. I want to forget this.
Hmm.
Like again, makes sense. You could understand a 15-year-old putting herself first in
Coming
those
to that
situations.
conclusion, yeah, for sure.
Um,
And then Holly, we didn't really talk about
yeah, I was
Holly.
gonna say before we go way too far down that path
Yeah.
and get into spoilers, let's talk about Holly.
She's amazing. I love that her I guess defense mechanism was to just be quiet and had let people think she was dumb. But she's not dumb and she's a klepto and the shit she's been through is insane and still frickin' happens and it's gross. And I think she's a super strong person. And I also really loved her relationship with Fern and how they like would puppy pile together and like just it was just really, really sweet that she was able to find people because I don't think after so many times of the adults that she trusted disregarding everything she said and like she was even bold enough to tell things to
Yeah.
people that she thought would help um because that doesn't always happen and to be dismissed like that, but then finally have not an outlet, but like people who can, sisters who will support you. It was really sweet.
Yeah, I appreciated that there was at least somebody looking out for the youngest one. Like and it's just people are people, but like that's always been my thing. Like, yes, sometimes they will tell stories, whatever. But like for a child, like you need to look out for our youngest people anyway. So I was happy that like Fern and Zinnia and Rose really grouped around Holly and didn't get
Yeah.
pulled into this narrative that she was dumb or
Yeah.
whatever, that she was mute and all this stuff. And I love that she carried around her little puppy that had a pouch that she hid all the things she stole. Like you could see how smart she was and just how despondent she was because when she thought she had finally gotten to a safe place that people would trust what she said, they told her she was making it up and were siding with the adults because, again, they didn't really give a shit about her, even though she was only 14. I thought she was obviously the catalyst to our story and just was so powerful throughout. And like you knew that moment was building as we got to know her more, as like, I think it was the klepto scene where you're like, okay, there's,
Something more
as the
here.
reader, we're now seeing that there's something more too.
You're
And
talking
from
about
that
like on
moment,
the bench with the snack?
yeah, where
Yeah.
she had stolen one of the
Yeah.
girls, whatever they called their hiding thing, whatever.
Yeah.
Like from that moment on, I was like waiting for her to speak.
Yes.
Like waiting for like what's gonna be the thing, what's gonna be
Yeah.
that moment, what's gonna be that like powerful whatever. Like you knew she was gonna be a linchpin in what was happening, and she delivers.
Yeah.
And it just everything she's gone through and to still like try one more time to convince people to help her uh
Yeah.
was just so powerful. So she like for her diminutive size and how everybody passed her over, she had a lot of power.
That's
uh
like the perfect disguise, to like be somebody that people would effectively just ignore and not see. I think it's very clever. Not that it's necessarily all her choosing, but like
right.
she navigated it well.
Yeah, no, I liked Holly. I mean I liked Rose too, but I think I liked Holly the best. I don't know. I mean, I think I like Rose's whole story. Like,
Yeah.
I thought that was really important for Fern in the end. But I liked Holly for just how she was just such a little. I don't know. She's still a little shit, like in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, we've been dancing around it, so we got to get to spoilers. But before we do that, we have a get to know your podcast question. And as I mentioned, to keep their true identities secret, all the girls in the Wayward home are given a new name based on a plant or flower. If you had to choose a name for yourself in this manner, what would it be and why?
I would absolutely choose Sam. Sam, like short for Samantha.
That has nothing to do with flowers or plants.
Oh, I thought it had to be a flower. I thought it was just like any name.
Wow. Okay. Well, tell me about
So
Sam then.
misread your question. Well, it's like always the name I picked when we were like playing make believe as a kid because I always really liked that it was like androgynous. Like it's short for Samantha, but like it could be Sam. Like I could cut my hair real short and still be a convincing Sam, you know? Um, yeah, that's like the name I always used. I don't know. I didn't think it had to be a flower context, so you answer and then I'll think about it more.
That's great. I appreciate the sidebar answer. For me, it's not a great name, but I chose Snapdragon. Uh, I was obsessed, which is dumb. I was obsessed with Snapdragons growing up, and like I was explaining or complaining about last episode about all the flower gardens my aunt had when we were growing up. Like I loved, we had Snapdragons in them, and I loved those. And they're like a very quick bloom, and they die very quickly, and whatever. But they look super cool, and I would always be like, "Oh, Snapdragons!" And maybe it's because it has dragon in the word. I don't know. But I did some Googling to see if it made any sense or if I could try to spin this my way. And while they're beautiful, they're a short-lived blossom. They can survive cold weather. So while they are perennial, most of them are considered annuals, or if I got that backwards, you know what I mean. But they can survive through the cold winters, and they're very diverse, which describes me a bit now because I survive in the cold. I keep to myself mostly, but when I show up, I'm a wide range of things. And I always bring the energy when I decide to stop being a hermit. So, while my ventures out into the real world are short-lived, it's very exciting and very beautiful, and that's why I have Snapdragon.
Wow, that was a really good answer.
Thank you, Google.
Um, I don't know.
I liked your answer of Sam. It's just
Okay.
funny how you just
I totally didn't
misread
realize that
that.
it had to be like that makes a lot more sense.
It's good.
Yeah,
Very
sorry.
good.
No, I don't have anything as like in depth either. Like what kind of plant do I really like?
I think it's wild that it was based on plants. Like it seems
So
awkward
it's
that it's like,
because
oh,
she
it's my
kept calling it my
my
garden.
garden. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it
I don't
was
know.
gross.
Just adds to the creepiness.
Yep,
Uh,
it sure does.
So on that note, let us know in the comments what kind of flower or plant you would be. Taja, you can also put in your input there at some point. And that means we're moving into spoilers. Before we do that, we have your song. This is the pot that we're going into spoilers. If you don't know the book, get out, because this is the pot that we're going into spoilers. It's time to learn what all that witching is all about, because that comes up later in our story, and we'll talk about it now in spoilers. After the girls' first attempt with magic passes Zinnia's morning sickness onto their Dr. Vincent, they realize the power they have and devote themselves to trying to save Holly from having to return home. They have learned that Holly was impregnated by her priest and that he and his wife are going to adopt her baby. The group agrees that this cannot happen. Also, things we skipped on here. They have like a librarian, a traveling library that comes to there. The librarian, Miss Parsay, I think is her name,
Yep.
ends up being a witch. She hands off a book about witchcraft to the girls, and they kind of start playing around with it. Their first spell is to pass on their morning sickness to the doctor because he claims that it's all in their head. So, how about a little fuck you to him? Now you're
Yep,
caught up.
he deserves it.
Fern learns more about witchcraft but is unable to find a spell that will help Holly. Zinnia swears off witchcraft and distances herself from the group. Rose's due date comes and she is taken to the hospital and doesn't return for a few days. When she does come back, Rose is broken and hiding from the other girls. Eventually, they discover that when Rose tried to keep her baby, they locked her into an asylum for 24 hours and threatened to lock her up for good if she didn't sign the paperwork. She broke down and signed away her child that she called Blossom, and it caused a fracture inside of her that was filled with anger. Using this anger, she convinces Fern and Holly to complete a spell with her that will force Miss Wellwood to feel the pain that Rose now feels. They create a powder that Rose gives half to Miss Wellwood before she leaves, and then leaves the other half for Fern to give her 13 days later. This spell works too, and Miss Wellwood becomes pregnant, but her gestation cycle is sped up exponentially. After she doesn't come to work for almost 2 weeks, the cook of the home, named Hagar, goes to check on her. She finds Miss Wellwood in dire straits and gets her sister Miriam, who also works at the home and is a midwife. Together, they deliver a bucket of eels. Did we mention this was horror? From Miss Wellwood and disposes of them. Hagar knows the devil's work when she sees it and finds Holly and Fern trying to call down a storm in order to prove Holly's power so the witches will take her in. Hagar captures the magic and stores it in a bottle by the house. She then learns the threat the witches have made against Fern and uses root power to protect them and the home. As Fern's due date approaches, the head witch named Miss Parse is dying and wants to pass on the line of Hecate to Fern. She wants Fern to do this willingly, but will force her if necessary. The line is dozens of generations of women and their memories that are passed down to keep them alive from witch to witch. The spirit of them will change Fern and make her never be able to return to the life she has known. She refuses to do it, and the witches begin attacking the home, trying to force her out. When she is brought to the hospital, Fern has a charm to hide her from Miss Parse, but loses it during the birthing process. The witch comes to her and tries to seduce her into giving in once more, but Fern refuses. She has a healthy baby girl and wants to keep it, but in the end is swayed by the social worker Diane that she could never give the baby a good life. Returning to the home, Fern hides from the other girls and counts down the days until she is picked up by her father. The priest, Reverend Jerry, comes to visit, and the girls can see the terror in Holly's face. Zinnia devises a plan to take Holly to Hagar's house instead of the hospital so she can have the baby there and then run away to get free of Reverend Jerry. Fern gets dragged along when the plan starts. Holly has a long delivery but makes it through with the help of Miriam. The girls are then caught trying to get to a safe house, and the three of them are brought back to the home. Fern sees an opportunity to cause a distraction and breaks away from the police holding her and frees the trapped storm in a bottle that Hagar had captured. A tempest attacks the home, but it brings the witches as well, who eventually corner Fern in the backyard. When Miss Parse tells Fern she will now force her to take the line of Hecate, Holly says she will go in her place if they take her and her baby. Miss Parse refuses Holly, saying she is too weak, and advances on Fern only to be stopped by her coven. They refuse to take an unwilling girl if there is one willing nearby. Holly and her baby go into the woods, and Fern is left to return home to her life. The book ends by fast forwarding 54 years into the future, and we see an aging Fern struggling with the decision after she learns her child reaches out to her sister looking for her birth mother. She consults Rose and Zinnia, and the story ends by her picking up the phone and calling her lost daughter, who she called Charlie, and telling her how she was stolen from her when she was a child. Quick, cut it back in for YouTube. Tasha need another drink. So, as explained there through many things and spoilers, we finally get into the witchcraft part of the book. And I will say, not knowing what we were getting into when we started reading, I was waiting for this to happen. And I do remember it was like page 140 out of like 400.
Yeah, it did kind of take a while.
But it does finally come in. So, witchcraft, I love how I like get just lost in my own thoughts and I say things that I don't know how to like read the question without not saying exactly what I just said. Anyway, now a spacer here. Witchcraft comes into our story about a third of the way through. What did you think of Hendrix's portrayal of it?
I mean, like, I don't have much of a background. I think it was well done. Um, Given that I don't have much of a background, I think like it seemed, you know, earthy, historic, and spooky in like good measure. Um, I think that it wasn't it didn't come off like hokey or um like stereotypical, I guess.
Yeah.
Like they weren't all wearing like pointy hats and riding brooms. So yeah, I don't know. I think realistic. Like it felt very like Wiccan. Like
Yeah.
I mean, he did consult actual covens, so I'm sure it's real in terms of like the history of it and whatnot. And I appreciate that aspect for sure. So yeah, overall, I think it was good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was believable, and as like it said on the back that you read, like it comes with sacrifice that's usually in blood. But even when they were talking about how they had to collect the ingredients for the
Mhm.
different spells they were doing, and how the girls would like they would find what they had, right? So it's like,
Yes.
oh, you need an animal heart. It's like, well, we have chicken hearts, right? For whatever they use them for dinner or something like that. So we can do that. And there's other things too where it's like, oh, this kind of, yeah, yeah, this is like in the same vein as
Yeah.
that. So,
We're gonna make it
uh,
work. Gonna MacGyver this witchcraft.
yes, we're gonna MacGyver our witchcraft. Good point. So I appreciated that, and then knowing that, or giving like the being given the hint by Miss Parsay that like the stronger the sacrifice, the bigger it is, and like that doesn't necessarily mean blood. Like blood is a part of it, but it's also the pain. Like how much are you willing to give to your magic? So I liked that. I thought the rituals then became believable to a point.
Yeah.
Obviously, I liked that there was a idea of like community because I think that's like a big part in covens and witchcraft, where it's like just about coming together and having like minds and trying to like put that good whatever into the universe, trying to put that like focus into the universe to bring about whatever you want. Then they started flying. That was a little bit much. Not in like a broom and whatever way, but more just like finding themselves kind of beyond gravity
Levitating.
for a while. Um, but overall, I really enjoyed how like it was taking ingredients that they could find or finagle and
Hmm.
kind of putting it together for the purpose that they wanted.
Hmm.
And not just being like, here's a spell, Expelliarmus. Okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do also appreciate the book aspect of it and how Fern, being the bookworm that she is, and sort of being like groomed, I guess, or like handpicked by the librarian to like dedicate her time to it, but then also neat how kind of the book gives what is needed
Yeah.
when it's needed, and it felt like a neat magical aspect.
It's a little like Hocus Pocus, like the book in that
Yeah,
where it like it's sentient and it's kind of like,
yeah,
hey, okay, now you're ready for this part, so I'm gonna grow
right,
here, whatever. Like this
right.
is the spell you need, etc. Like I
Right.
did enjoy like a little whimsical magic there. Getting back to the point I made pre-spoilers about like our villain having a clear reasoning for what she's doing and like making sense for why she's targeting who she's targeting. Like the fact that the coven moves around
Mm.
and like they have that moment where they meet the coven, or Fern does. I think Holly was there too. And
Ro Rose and Holly, right?
was Rose there still?
I thought that was like the one person, like, because didn't I thought it was Rose and Fern, and I thought they like went there and like Rose and Fern were with her, and then Fern left
That was
because it was
Brooke. Yeah,
Rose's
you're
thing.
right. Yeah, because that's where they got the really scary spell.
Yeah.
Uh, but so I liked shit.
Sorry.
I liked things. Oh, getting back to the villain side, the coven side. I liked how we had that moment with the coven where they're like, usually I'm talking about Miss Parsay, or however you say her name.
I was saying it Parisi, but I don't know if that's right.
That seems wild to me. Parcae. I don't know. Parise. I like how you think though. Um, anyway, we have that moment where like the coven is questioning her, where they're like, it seems like in the last few years we've had more questionable choices from her than in past. Like it seems
Yeah,
like
she's
I don't
going
know.
off the deep end.
Yeah. So it's not just them questioning her. Then we learn that she's dying. So it would make sense that she would be like taking on this librarian role and going to these
She's
homes.
getting really desperate.
Yeah, she's trying to find a successor, and like it makes sense. Like she's hunting in the right area, women who are kind of
Mm.
shunned by society. So
With
like all
no
of
other
that,
recourse.
yeah, so like all of that really made sense. And then her like focusing on Fern and kind of sensing the power within her
Hmm.
just really worked. And like I don't think she was ever going to go with Holly, even when they did that. Like they tried to call the storm and Holly couldn't do it.
Yeah, she didn't really.
But I don't think even if she did, I still think she just like had her heart set on Fern. Again, just making her a believable villain.
Hmm.
That worked really well. So I liked that the witchcraft, excuse me, the witchcraft gave the girls power, but it also became a threat. And as we saw, like again, that horror picking up where as Fern says no to them, they get that hailstorm that attacks the home and like destroys different parts of it. We see, and it too with the witchcraft side, like they only said the word root once. And the only reason I probably picked up on it was from the Legend-Born series, where she talks about how much root magic is. Like, I don't think I would have missed it without that. But the fact that Hagar and Miriam are like root casters, if you want to call them that, and like as they get the story from the girls, and they're like, okay, we're gonna protect the home, we're gonna protect you. They put up the horseshoes, they bury the silver at the 4 points, and all that. Like I liked how again that now seems believable, where it's like, okay, we're gonna use this old magic to protect ourselves from this demon magic that you have now brought in here because you're dumb girls playing with things you don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the magic stuff was handled really, really well. And again, like believably, that's kind of the theme.
Believability. What's your
Yeah.
theme? Believability. I
I
want
mean,
people to
for a
believe
book
me.
about witchcraft, like that's pretty good, right?
Sure. Again, like knowing, as you said, like the witches didn't come into the third edit. Like I wonder what this was before that.
Yeah.
So moving on, we and the girls learn the truth of their situation when it's time for them to give birth. What did you think of what each of them went through? Meaning, we see Rose, Fern, and Holly giving birth.
I mean, like, not really surprised by any of it, given the adults' shittiness in this situation. Um, it's just like really terrible how society treated these girls. Um, I mean, and treats women, but like soapbox is put away right now. Um, yeah, I mean, the Fern's birthing scene was traumatic for her. It was traumatic for me reading it. I
Yeah.
am forever thankful that I have not and will not be experiencing childbirth, but I cannot imagine doing it as a 15-year-old who is being told absolutely nothing and being treated so coldly, like it's her fault alone that she's in this situation. Absolutely zero compassion from anybody that was there to help her.
Yeah.
Um, and that's just really sad. I mean, same goes for Rose and Holly. I mean, again, like we've been talking about, they're all treated like commodities, so it doesn't really like the end result is that the babies get adopted out and the other stuff is inconsequential.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like Holly having the different experience going through Miriam and Hagar, like
Oh, that's a good point. That was very different.
they definitely are taking her into account too. But we're seeing how much more difficult a home birth is
Yeah.
when you're dealing with two women who it's thrust upon,
Yeah.
and they're not prepared. I mean, they're as prepared, I guess, as you can be because Miriam is a
And
midwife.
they know what they're doing.
They do
Yeah.
know it. Yeah, they do know what they're doing, but like it's not like the girls ever told them their plan.
Right.
For Rose's, because she's just first chronologically speaking.
But
Uh,
we also didn't really like witness
no,
Rose's.
but for me, the big thing that came out of Rose's birthing story was the asylum side of it. The fact
Yeah.
that they were like, "You're not thinking right. You're a 17-year-old woman. You have no prospects. You can't help this baby, and you are keeping it from a family who has." They're both great and they work jobs and they're able to take care of it. And
It's like they deserve this kid.
yeah, you're obviously mentally ill to think that
Yeah.
you could take this baby, even if it is yours,
Right.
and treat it better than these two people, these two professionals.
Yeah.
That was fucking wild and 100% believable.
Yeah.
That like, and to see how much that broke Rose, like
Because she had
broke
such big plans.
fed her with anger, but broke her too. Like she was the one who, and like we see it right off the bat with Fern when she gets to the home, and Diane, the social worker, is like, "You're gonna want to sign this paper, basically giving over your baby. You're gonna sign it Jane Doe though, wink wink and nudge nudge. But like make sure you give over your baby." And Rose is like. Standing on her soapbox, being like, I never signed anything. Fuck Diane. She doesn't know shit about me. I'm only here because she had gone to a commune where she was like trying to stay there, and then her parents found her and brought her to this home and whatever. So she's like here completely against her will, and she's like, I know everything that you're trying to do, and you're not going to take my baby. And then they were like, hey, guess what? We still have
We're
the
doing it
system,
anyway.
and we're gonna fuck you no matter how hard we can. So, um, and like seeing Rose defeated, I think
Mhm.
was a little bit of a wake up call, a little bit of that like glass breaking for Fern, where it's like if
Mhm.
they can get to her, like if I have any doubts, any thoughts about trying to make it through this with a child, I
Right.
definitely don't anymore because the
Well,
cards are
and I think right up until she gave birth, Fern was like kind of on board with like, I just want to be done. I just want to go home. I just want my life to get back to normal. And I think she wasn't like Rose in that respect. Like she
yeah.
was ready to just put it behind her. Um, yeah, I had totally forgotten that Holly's experience was completely opposite, which is hilarious. But yeah, I think that it was probably a little rough for um Fern to be witness to that, just in terms of like, look at how much care is being placed on Holly. And like being able to be there and support her, and um yeah, such a different experience.
And I do wonder because for her, she goes into the hospital and yeah, she has like a really terrifying 10 or 12 hours, whatever it was, where she's going through the early labor.
Hmm.
But by the time it's like time to have the baby, they basically sedate her and just take it out of her.
Yeah. And like mutilate her in the process.
Yeah, and then the wonderful writing here where he's like talks about how the doctor is so proud of himself when he adds the husband stitch is what they call it. Yeah, somebody would be proud of that later on. It's like again, it's so fucking believable that it's
It
adds
is.
to that frustration.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but the detail they went into and like the fact that we jumped to the POV of the doctor for Fern's birthing experience was that's one of those moments where I'm like, okay,
This is the horror part of the book.
yeah, there's certain people I cannot tell to read this book because yikes for even me. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God. Uh,
Yeah.
it was a lot. And I, again, for Fern, I appreciate that she has that moment of doubt
Mhm.
where she has named the baby Charlie in her head. Shout out Charlie. And she like thinks about keeping her for, I don't know, a couple hours. And Diane is working her magic as hard as she can and trying to push her away from that. And I like that when we get to the end and Charlie talks or Fern talks about how Charlie was stolen from her. Like it's those moments where I think outside of that, if this had happened outside of the home,
Mhm.
she would have tried to find a way
Yeah.
because she did feel that love. Like I can't imagine incubating something for 10 months and then just being like, oh my God, it's a person. Let me give it away, obviously, which is why Diane even says how they don't usually let the mothers see the baby because that's just too hard for you. We don't want to make it
Mhm.
harder on you than it is. Um,
They don't
but
care.
but shout out Fern for signing her own name on the
Yeah,
birth
that was
certificate
smart.
rather than Jane Doe, as that's like a little breadcrumb for
Yeah.
later. And then finally, Holly's like with Zinnia. So Zinnia, again, this is what we talked about before, where she hasn't had her baby yet. So she like doesn't know that everything's against her. She has a bit of that naivete still. She still is trying to help Holly. Like that, as you kind of mentioned, postpartum Fern,
Mm.
granted, she went through a lot, but she and
She
that's
gets
gonna
really
cost
selfish again. Like,
it's going to cause her to change. That's totally believable. She has like gone through it and she does now. Like, there's nothing she can do. She has given the baby away. There's nothing left for her here. She is strictly thinking, I just need to
gotta get
fucking get out of here and get my life back
out.
because I've done what I've done. So there's nothing else here for me. So like I understand it, but fuck,
Totally.
I hated Fern.
Yeah, that was
Postpartum.
really annoying, especially because, like, and I guess this is just her 15-year-old naivete. Like, yes, you've gone through this trauma and it was awful, but like, you're not going to be able to just go back to your old life. Like,
Yeah.
even though you might go back to school and go back to your friends, like you are a different person.
And the thing that really sold it for me that like upset me was the fact that Reverend Jerry, so I don't know if we
Mm.
touched on it in spoilers, but if you didn't get the whole picture, Holly was being sexually abused by her priest named Reverend Jerry from the age of 8 until 14, where she became pregnant. And his wife knew about it, where she would like prepare Holly for Reverend Jerry, which is fucking, yeah. Um, and on top of that, they had agreed to adopt Holly's baby, his baby. So like, and under the guise of being just churchly people, they get away with everything. So Reverend Jerry comes to the home because Holly's due date is approaching, and like even just Fern seeing Holly dolled up for him, like she
Oh,
always talks
so
about
gross.
because she was thought dumb and mute and all this stuff, like her hair was a mess. She was always kind of a mess herself. And then you see her and she's like in this white dress and she's got her hair in pigtails and all this different stuff to like present her to fucking Reverend Jerry. Uh, when Fern didn't come back, like when Fern was still like, I'm gonna like, I'm leaving, whatever, that was the part that lost me. Where I was like, no, come, like, fucking come on, you need to help this girl.
Especially because I think she says, or at least it's like made known that she understands how vile Reverend Jerry is. Like,
Mhm.
there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, she gets it. She sees him for herself and
Yep.
like knows instantly that this is not okay, and still is like, I gotta go.
And it's not just Holly now. It's like if she has a daughter, which she does end up having, like now you're putting more prey in the predator's house, literally. Like that was just that's the part where Fern lost me.
Yeah.
Again, though, she's a 15-year-old girl who just went through an incredibly traumatic experience and wants to put everything behind her. So it's like, I
It's
get it.
it's again very realistic that we're upset with her because she's making very realistic choices.
We all make mistakes. It's part of life. But
Yeah.
we're gonna be mad at you, Fern. So just deal with that.
Yep.
As far as Holly's birthing experience, the fact that they gave it their best shot, but right, like they convinced the cab driver to
Oh,
go to Hagar's because they got to pick up Hagar on the way. I don't know. It's wild. Doesn't
when they get there and Hayer's like talking shit to him, like, you believe these kids?
Yeah,
Like, you
you believed
idiot.
a little girl bossed you around, get her out of here. And it's only because Holly is like crowning or however you want to put it.
Hmm.
They're like, okay, no, okay, get her in here because we got to deal with this. But the fact that they thought they could get away with that was just absolutely wild. But you know, if you don't have many choices, you're gonna take whatever is fucking handy.
Yep. Yep.
So from that point, we move into our ending with Fern releasing the storm and everything that came after with though, which is trying to draft her and then actually protect her. What did you think of how everything tied together in the end?
So, like, some of it seemed a little rushed at times. Like, they have Holly has her baby, and then it's like it seems like things are gonna go okay, and then like, well, not even okay, but you're like, okay, they're making them leave.
Yeah,
Understandable. I totally get that from Miriam and Hagar's perspective. But then it's like cops, Wellwood, blah blah. It's just like shitstorm of shitstorms, which, like, I guess for a climactic ending you have to have like all the pieces of the puzzle come together. So sure. Um I kind of was craving a little bit more witchiness, but like I was satisfied that there was sort of a callback to like the storm that they'd bottled up.
yeah.
Because I think if it was like brand new witchiness that arrived somehow, like, oh, maybe Fern remembers something from the book and like casts a spell, whatever, that would have been less believable. So
Yeah.
the callback of like, I'm gonna try this thing, and I also like how she cut her tongue and like that was really intense. And she tried. I mean, it succeeded
Yeah.
ish, but like I think that it still very much plays like a little girl playing with something above her weight class.
I mean, I honestly thought it was a very neatly tied bow. Like, there's the
Yeah.
fact that, as you said, like all of our villains are here in one
Hmm.
place. The fact that like Fern is like, oh, I gotta stretch my legs, and the cops are like, well, what are you gonna do? We'll let you out of the car. Okay, that's a little bit much, sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Didn't
the
she say
fact
she had
that
to pee?
I forget, but yeah,
I do too.
whatever.
Whatever. But yeah, why are they letting? Well, they're
What,
dumb.
it don't matter either because they're men and
Yeah.
they're dumb.
Yeah.
One's a coach and one's an English teacher or something. Uh, the fact that the storm came back into play, I like that that was placed beforehand. And then, as you were saying, the fact that she cuts her tongue, like that was so long before in the book where she
Yeah.
talks about how her dad bled so
Dad.
much the one
Mhm.
time he like cut his tongue or bit his tongue or something like that,
Mhm.
and how it ruined his shirt and all this. Like there was a lot of really cute pieces that came together
Yeah.
in Fern's mind to form this
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
And so it was a bow, but I actually really liked that bow. And then the fact that like it didn't work out, like if it would have worked
Yeah.
out, Reverend Jerry would have been killed. Uh,
Right.
really, what ended up happening out of all of this big mighty storm was the home
Chaos.
was destroyed,
Yeah.
which is good, I
Good.
guess. I mean, it is good, obviously, but
Well,
there's more homes out there, etc. But like the fact that like Miss Wellwood kind of gets out unscathed, Dr. Vincent gets out unscathed, even Reverend
yeah.
Jerry, like he's got like broken shoulders, so he's gonna have to rehab.
He's
But
not doing great.
yeah, and even was it Fern? Yeah, I think it was Fern because I assume it's through her POV where she's like, I could have pushed his head
She
down
was
into
about,
the
she like lifted
puddle
her foot.
and drown him, and she's like, no, it's like I'm not here for cruelty or whatever. I'm
Yes. Mercy without something without mercy is like,
yeah.
yeah.
So I liked that there was quite a bit of things that came together to make
Yes.
this moment make sense.
Yes. And I also appreciated that like um for all of their efforts to try to help Holly get out of this situation, um sort of the ensuing chaos, and of course like the bit with the librarian like stalking Fern, and then all of the coven standing, that was amazing. I
Yeah,
loved that bit because like you had said before, she was kind of going off the deep end a little bit prior to this, and kind of desperation was like leading her to make choices that she, I guess, probably wouldn't normally have done. But then the fact that the other women in the coven stood up and were like, well, we're not, this is stupid. Like,
yeah.
we're just gonna, we should let this die. Like, if that means saving lives.
I would rather let generations of dead people go than force one woman into it. And like I appreciate it that it was Mags who
Yes. Oh,
and like we meet Mags when they go to the Coven, and she's like basically wearing a diaper, maybe that's it.
she's
And
like a
she's
crazy lady because they messed
crazy
with
as
her
all
brain.
hell, crazy older lady who's just babbling and like whatever. And we learned that whatever line she
Wasted.
has in her head was forced upon her and it broke her.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things Fern is worried about,
Right.
obviously. So I appreciate that it's Mags that has that moment of clarity that it's like no more. And the others stand up as well. And I think it's one who's carrying another line in her who's like, I'd
Yes.
rather let
Yes.
those people die than kill a living person by forcing them upon her. Like it makes no sense. Just take the girl over there. And
Right.
the librarian, Miss Parse, is like, it might not work. And they're like, well, she's at
Fair.
least willing. So let's
Yeah.
take the willing one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I appreciated that the coven came back into play there because when they were like doing the like up in the trees, sailing in the wind while the hail was coming down, I was like, come
You're getting
on,
a little out there.
you can see that your leader's fucking up here, right? Like you're trying to force this poor girl out. This is kind of crazy. So
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. So I very much appreciate that Fern. Okay, so let me back up a step. I think at first I was kind of annoyed because Fern was like, seemed to be so what's the word I want? Adept at the witchy magic situation. She was interested. She obviously like has an
affinity.
think yes, she's good at it. She like doesn't um she doesn't want to, she wants to do it, but then she doesn't want to have her mind taken over. She doesn't want to be all these other people and hear all these other people and lose herself. And I think it's really amazing. At first, I was annoyed. I was like, why wouldn't you want this power? That's fucking cool. And then I was like, no, this is the only thing that she has agency over. Everything else has been stripped from her. She's been put in this home against her will. She had no chance to keep her kid. I mean, she did have a chance to keep her kid, but she like was,
But she didn't
you know
know.
what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
all of the people who were making decisions for her, especially in the home, like you, I think the back even talked about, they're told what to do, where to
Yeah.
eat, or what to eat, where to go, what to do, all the
Salt
things.
restriction, sugar restriction.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like to be able to stand firm and say, no, I don't want this, um, is actually really powerful. And then like all of the coven standing up for her was just loved it.
And I do think a part of it is like, well, she may like want to push off the world of man, as they like swear to do, whatever.
Hmm.
I think part of it is she's got two younger siblings.
Right.
Like, she's just gonna disappear on them? Like, what happens if they go through this? You know, or
Right.
one of them's a girl, like she has a sister and a brother. That's how you say words. So like, I think Fern is thinking of them more than others. Like, obviously, she wants the comfort of like going back and getting back to normal and talking sci-fi with her dad and like having her mom love her again and all that
Yeah.
really shitty thing that is going on too. But I do think that there's a part of her that is really focusing on her siblings in this, like, you would have to leave, and like, well, the witches even say like right now is kind of a time of peace, or like we're forgotten because the
Right.
world
But
in
we
Vietnam.
could be persecuted
Yeah,
again.
because the war in Vietnam and like kind of
Yeah.
the everything is focused away from us right now, so we have a
Right.
little bit more free reign, but that doesn't mean that
What do
there's
they
not going
call
to
it?
be a shitstorm soon.
Like a time of the burning or something.
Yeah, something like
Whatever they're
that.
calling. Like, and I definitely think Holly is more suited to that world
Yeah.
anyway. Like she already, I think, kind of in her own way left the world of man behind by not speaking and by playing dumb and all of that. And also like there's nothing good waiting for her at
And her
home.
parents betrayed her. Like,
Yeah,
her parents believed the priest
fully.
over
Yep.
her.
Shocker.
So what are you going back to?
Right.
And again, she's just thinking about like, I can't put my child through this. And at this point,
Yes.
she knows it's a daughter, especially. I
Yes.
can't put my daughter through this. I can't give it to that man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked how it all came together. This is the moment where the feisty and bows I'm okay with.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
thought it was really well done to the point where I'm not going to argue. Like, stories have bows. It's okay. It's just whether or not they're forced on us.
Well, and they're nicely tied when, like we were saying before, where like the things there's callbacks to like the
Yeah.
tongue, her dad, and the storm bottled up, and like things that make sense to you as a reader, and it's not just bows that like come out of nowhere. And oh my gosh, where's this Duas Machina thing happening? Like,
Where's this troll come from?
hmm.
And even the bottle, again, like the fact that like that storm was waiting for them. Again,
Yeah.
it was all
Well,
really
and
well
they
done.
had created it. Like her and Holly had made that storm.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very well done.
Yeah.
So finishing off, we have our epilogue, which comes 54 years later. They did it in weeks. That was annoying. But other than that, what did you think of the present day finish to our story?
I actually loved it. I
I did
cried
too.
a lot. I cried like ugly crying. I
I
thought it
cried.
like
I cried a little crying, not ugly.
okay. No, I cried like a lot, a lot. Um, it was really, really powerful. Like her voice as an adult woman was so strong and like I'm probably gonna cry again. Um, no, it was really good and like I think it put like a really good bow on the whole thing
Yeah.
and just like the made the realism of it and like the history of it really powerful.
It made her life make sense.
Yeah.
Like, or like whatever. Like, it made it
How
all
she
make
was a
sense.
midwife
The
and
fact
like,
that she was a doula and she talks about how she focuses on the mother because of
yes.
her experience, and how like while she has delivered countless babies into this world that she never had her own, and like she always kind of is like, oh, I never really like met the right man or met the right match, whatever she says. I loved her as a 69-ish year old woman.
Exactly.
And the fact that Rose and Zinnia
Zinnia.
are still a part of her life, and how like Rose,
Yes.
they found each other early. And Zinnia, she like met randomly on a street and just like
Yes.
realized what they had gone through. Like one of them said the other's name, the other's plant name,
Fake name.
yeah, to get their attention. How they're still a main part. Like I loved the juxtaposition of Rose's family, where we learn that she found Blossom very early on, and now she has a granddaughter, and like her family lives with her in Arkansas or wherever the fuck they are.
Yeah, the weird commune.
Yeah, and then she talks to Zinnia, and how Zinnia, her son, when she reached out, wanted nothing to do with her, but she did fulfill her dream or whatever, her wish that she had
Yeah,
made there, and like married the piano player, Paul, I think it was, or whatever.
I think so.
And like they have a life together, and they're talking because the whole point of this epilogue is, and again, nice little bows, right? Because when Holly is going to the hospital and Fern and Zinnia are in the car with her, Holly, sorry, Fern gives Holly her dad's wedding ring.
Yes, that had.
He had forgotten to give it. He had forgotten to take it back when he gave it to Holly for some reason. Oh, because she went to the bathroom at the gas station
Hmm.
when they were going to Florida and she was pregnant. He's like, if you look like you're married, they won't judge you.
Yes.
And he never remembered to take it back. She gave it to Holly because she was like, if they think you're married, they'll treat you
Weird at
better.
the hospital.
Not like me. And then through everything that happened, she never gets it back. Holly, well, whatever, her child, Charlie, whatever her real name is, finds that ring at one point in
Oh
her
yeah.
adult life.
Burns
Which,
child, Charlie. Got it.
yeah,
Yes.
Vern's child, Charlie,
Got
which
it.
Vern puts into Holly being like giving her like the here's one back for you kind of situation.
Yeah.
Her last name's on it because it was engraved with her dad's name and where they got married, which was their home in Alabama. So whatever,
She had
Charlie,
some clues to go
yeah,
for.
Charlie
Yeah.
like Facebooks her sister and then
Yeah.
figures out everything, which is I like that point too, where it's like her sister now knows for the first time 50 years later that
Where
they
she
go to
was
like
that
drama
summer.
camp that summer.
Yeah. Oh, like all of the bows were so good because they were um they like felt like inside information. It wasn't like, as a reader, we
Yeah,
like know about these things or the pieces of the puzzle are coming together.
yeah, it all worked really well.
Yeah.
And like the fact that why would she ever talk about that again? Like she's trying to put that past her. So the fact
Right.
that her sister never knew uh,
Right.
is such a strong thing. So I loved all that, and I like how Rose was like, you need to call her because like if she sent out her number, like you need to know one way or the other. And Zinnia's like, for once, I'm going to agree with Rose, so you should call her, whatever. That last paragraph, like I thought it was the last sentence, but it wasn't. The last sentence is like, we were girls, we were witches, whatever, too much. But the paragraph before that, where she starts off, where she talks about, I think Charlie says, like, oh, like you gave me up or something like that. She's like, no, you were stolen. And they talk about that. Like that became such a very powerful thing that I think I'll pull from this is like that. And I think it's what he mentions kind of in the introduction is like there's a generation that were stolen from their parents because of
The
society.
stigma of the,
Yeah,
yeah.
which is just again wild to fucking think of.
Well, it
Uh,
very much feels like in Australia there was the stolen generation as well of like the, yeah.
and
People suck.
people suck, and recent generations of people suck.
Yeah. Current. We're not
people
that great now.
people still suck today. Oh,
Oh man, yeah. I
but
was
yeah,
like a hot mess at the end of that.
and it was so powerful. That was just like a few tears rolling down my cheek as I was reading it. And it was like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Nothing."
And then I went outside to take the dog and I read some friggin' also sad Facebook story and came back in and was like just bawling. And Barry's like, why do you do this?
Why are you this way? This has just happened. So yeah, it was a good work of the epilogue. I will say the weeks thing where it's like, oh, 21 weeks later,
Oh,
like playing with that, I was like, yeah,
it's
okay,
so like babyish though.
little
Like,
too cutesy.
well, I mean, how
So
Everybody refers to like their kid past the age of 1 as months old.
Dude, when I was getting my blood work done the other day at the hospital, there was a baby there that these other people started talking about, and I was like, just don't include me, don't include me. And they eventually asked how old the child was, and the mother was like, oh, he's 1 year and 1 week. And I was like, or
Okay,
1 year and
that's
1 month,
better.
I think she said.
Okay, fine, but that's better than like
13 months.
13
I
months.
do
Yeah.
love when people are like, this is my 49-month-year-old. It's like, they're not a thing. They're
That's
four.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the vibe that
Yeah.
the whatever weeks gives me.
Honestly, I'm really happy that like in the epilogue they said like it was 54 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, because I was about to do the math and I was like, I think they
Oh, I
actually
fully was
mentioned.
like, whatever, it's a long time.
Oh, I meant when I was writing the writing down. I was like,
Oh,
do I need to know?
I'm not gonna say this.
I'm not going to do it. But yeah, no, it was a good use of an epilogue. Like again, showing us the character. Like as I mentioned, this is and we learned that Holly is using her witch power. We learned that like because Fern mentions aside from the ring thing that there was like a moment years ago that like a preacher started suddenly admitting to the
Yes.
terrible things he had been doing and how he was molesting children, including one in the choir now. And it turns out he was Reverend Jerry whatever. Like she was using her powers that
For
she had
good.
acquired for good. So it gave us like, Zinnia's happy, great. Rose has like figured her life out, great. Fern is
He's
like
getting there.
she's happy, but and like she has nieces and nephews. Like I liked
Yeah.
that her nephew came on the trip with
Oh,
her.
that
Like
was
she
so
has
cute.
that connection and how he's worried about going to a compound full of lesbians, which
And
is
then gets in the car and is like, what's up with their mustache? And I was like, bro, go easy.
again
We all
believable.
have them.
Again, believable. Yeah, I just it and it was short. Like it was like 4 or 5 pages. It was really well done. So that's the epilogue I can get behind. You didn't just waste
Yeah, for
time.
sure.
Moving into additional spoilers here, I just had more about Hagar and Miriam. Like, I
Mm.
loved their connection, both with each
Yes.
other and also with the girls. I do wonder if, like, at any point the girls had come to Hagar about Holly's situation. If, like, she was a colored woman in the deep South, so she did not have a ton of power either. But she obviously had power, her and her sister, in their own way. I do wonder if there would be anything there that could have made the story different. If they had told her, like, I think she would have believed them.
Oh, I think she definitely, I mean, didn't they end up saying something
They did,
about?
yeah, but it was like while she was giving birth.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Okay.
like weeks ahead, like maybe
Before,
a
yeah.
couple weeks before when they like got called out for the sorcery, and they were like, "Here's why we're doing it." Maybe Hagar has a moment to mull it over.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Might not
think
come to
that
anything.
maybe. I mean, I just think that they probably don't have too much power in the traditional sense
Mm,
either. Like, certainly more
absolutely,
because they're adults, but
yeah.
like more than the girls do. But I don't think from a societal standpoint there would have been much. Because, like, what are
No,
they gonna, no one's gonna believe them either if they don't believe Holly.
true. I'm just saying, like maybe they would have had an idea, a
Had
better
some way.
idea than like, "Hey, we're
Oh,
gonna
to get out.
hijack a cab and go to Miriam and Hagar's house," you know?
Yeah, I mean, or
Maybe.
just like a either we be witches or we do something else. Like, let's talk to people that that said too, like I think that most of the girls were probably a little bit afraid of Hager.
That's yeah, she definitely carried herself that way.
Yeah.
But I love their relationship where afterwards and understandably they're concerned about themselves because Hagar and
Yes.
Miriam have helped Holly give birth, but they know what these, they're adults. They know what it's the baby and now
Yeah.
they're complicit. So you need to
Yeah.
get out of here, whatever. And it's like Miriam silently talking to her sister that convinces Hagar to be like, there might be a safe house down the road that you could get to, whatever. Miriam passes the 3/4 to Fern for the baby to try to help out there. Just that their whole everything again, where they're looking at girls, and then Hagar to cap it off, giving the fuck you to Miss Wellwood. And
That's what I was gonna say.
I've worked here for 19 years, but I think I need to look
Fuck
for new employment tomorrow.
yep.
Like,
Which
fuck you.
like they're basically like not running the place, but running the place. Like
Yeah.
they make it work. Yeah.
Going back to Miss Wellwood, because we didn't talk about this, Miss
Oh
Wellwood
my
giving
God.
birth to twins.
Ew.
So gross. But did you like so when they pass on Rose's rage, did you ever see that coming as it was like the that she would be like pregnant?
Um,
Like because I think she put it on like I want her to feel the way I feel.
yeah, I just assumed she was going to be in like pain and feel helpless. I didn't necessarily think pregnant.
So it was the moment that Miss Wellwood goes off on Hagar about the tuna being bad.
Oh, sure.
That's where I was like, "Oh fuck, they made her pregnant."
Yeah,
uh,
that's funny.
and then it was interesting that that he gave us a little bit of Miss Wellwood's past, where we learned that she was a wayward girl at one point and gave up her child, and her like
And her
father came
dad's
to
a
this
piece of
home.
shit.
Yep, and broke her in her own way,
Yeah.
but now she breaks people too. So I like it's one of those ones where it's like you're trying to make me feel for that fucking villain, but she's a
I'm
villain,
not
and I'm
gonna.
not
I
gonna
still
fall
don't
for
like
it.
her.
Yeah, but I did appreciate Hagar and Miriam giving her the
For
middle
sure.
finger.
I mean, I think if there's anything this book has done, it's just solidified my pro-choice leanings.
Yes, fair,
Yeah. I mean,
very
I
fair.
was already that, and I remain that.
Surprise, we're a very liberal podcast. If you're just
Yeah.
finding that out, welcome to your first episode.
Hi.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about in additional spoilers?
Um, Not really. Only okay. So only that we've said before about I think that the horror for me is the lack of agency. Like, and just having being so not alone, but so lost and um without a support system and in a situation that like you know nothing about. I just like it absolutely terrifying and he really just knocked it out of the park with bringing that
Yeah, you're
feeling.
completely at the mercy of others and
Yeah.
you have no idea what's going on because
Yeah.
they're again, they're not telling you anything.
Nope.
And like the fact the again, the first visit that she has with Dr. Vincent and how like
Just
impersonal and
yep.
fucking intrusive that is.
Yep.
You're like, okay. Yeah, I was expecting the witches to be our big horror, and they kind of do at the end, obviously with their when they're coming after Fern, whatever. But to me, the horror was being Fern.
Yeah.
Uh, and I
Or
think
any of the girls.
yeah, and I think as we touched on the realism, bringing them so to life off the page, putting you right in their shoes, like that gave me anxiety as she's
Yeah.
going through the things she's going through.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a different type of horror, but it still fucking lands.
Yeah. Yeah. And it made it like a very fast read. Like it's not a little book. There
Yeah,
was quite a lot to it, but it was like quick to read because it definitely like the pace was good and the horror was intense.
it grabs you for sure.
Yeah.
I will say one thing I kept meaning to bring up, but it's not super important. But I will say, like, aside from the four girls we know, Fern, Rose, Holly, Zinnia, the others just blended together.
Oh God, yeah. I was
When
like, we've just got names.
yeah, until like because at first she was like rambling off a bunch of names, a bunch of different plants and flowers, and it wasn't until like I don't know, maybe 100 pages in, it felt like we finally got like Rose and Holly, and then Zinnia approached, and I was like, I was worried for a little bit. I was like, how am I supposed to remember all these fucking people? And like, thankfully, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so on that note, we're going to move out of spoilers. Moving out of spoilers, we're not quite done with the book. We have to finish by giving it our grade. We do this based on the D&D D20 scale. So 1 is bad, 20 is good, and then we add or subtract a characteristic, modifier, ability, or skill from the game Dungeons and Dragons that we think best fits our novel. We alternate every episode, and this time it is Taja's turn to go first. So Taja, what did you give this on the dice roll?
So I gave it a 17 straight roll. Um, I think like we've talked about, he just did a really good job um being a feminist ally. And writing a very realistic group of characters in making the scenario feel extremely real, even though there's magic and witches and stuff, and even that felt historically accurate, I guess I'd say. Um, and I very much applaud his ability to um give that I know that I'm not the person who should be writing this story,
Yeah,
but he owned that, but then
yeah,
he also delivered something that wasn't stupid like lip service and like as a woman it didn't make me angry to read. You know,
yeah.
honestly, like I forgot that it was a guy writing it. And every now and then I'd remember and be like, my goodness, this
Yeah,
is kind of impressive. I haven't read his other books. I've got the one you gave me on the shelf, but I definitely think it might be moving closer to the top of the list because yeah, I like the writing style, and I think I keep coming back to realism. Like I think
yeah,
that it just was so effective. Um and I think that the uh it was powerful. His circling back around to two points in the story from before was satisfying. Yeah, and the pacing was really good. So overall 17, and then, or not overall, straight roll 17, and then I'm adding +2 for history. So I'm doing one for the like fascinating train wreck style, actually this kind of shit happened.
yeah,
And then sort of the history of like the witchy side of things, because I think he did a really good job expressing um that not from just like a mystical magical thing side, like you know that side of things, but like a here's how like witches today, the Wiccans today, like um this is a real thing for people. And I think that like the history of like all the names and stuff and the people that have come before, and I don't know, that felt very powerful.
yeah.
So yeah, 19 overall.
Nice. For me, I gave this a straight roll of 18 for pretty much everything you were just saying. You you touched on a lot of great points there, Taj. And I think it's important, like we often use spicy and bow as like a negative here, but in this story, like it worked because he brought back so many things when he tied that knot that just made you it like made you feel appreciated for reading the story. Because like, hey, did you get that part? Did you get that part? Like
Yeah.
it's not just the things that happened in the last 10 pages. We're calling back things that happened 200 pages ago.
It's not like a cheap bow. It was like a really intricately tied one.
It was a very lovely wrap job. It was done
Yes.
so well. No, there's just so many things that I appreciated about this story. And as you touched on, the fact that he right off the bat was like, maybe you don't think I'm the one to tell this story. I didn't either, but
Here
also
it
somebody needs
is.
to tell this story.
Yeah.
And I think he just grabs you so quickly. Like this is, as you said, it's a long book, but it just reads so well that you just lose yourself in it, which is what you hope for in every story. Like,
Yeah.
there was just so much enjoyment in it for me. I also gave it a +2 for history, because it shined a light on something that I knew nothing about. Like I had never really heard of these homes. I think it's kind of I've talked about this with our friends before. I don't think I've ever talked about it on the podcast, but I think it's a disservice how little we teach our kids, like in high school, etc., about recent history. Like we always have US
Yeah.
history like every year, but you get to like the Civil War and it's like, okay, we don't have much further to go. Or like
Nothing else happened.
yeah, or maybe you get to like civil rights movement or you like broad strokes it, right? But like there's so much that we don't cover that has happened in the last 50 years that really deserves our attention to be like, hey, let's learn from these fucking mistakes.
Hmm.
Let's maybe treat everyone equally regardless of gender. That's psycho, I know. Um,
What a crazy idea.
I used to think we'd be okay in the future, but the younger generations, I think, I don't know. It's just us. It's just the millennials or whatever the fuck we are. The rest of you are cool, I guess. Anyway,
Yeah.
long story long. So I appreciated that. And what I'm gonna like, I don't know why I took away from this. Like, I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads instead of 5 stars. I just think that there's like some parts to it that detract from it. So it wasn't like that perfect. I don't know, everything. It did still give you emotions at the end. Like I do think without that epilogue, there wouldn't have been those emotions because that's where
I
I felt it
agree.
at
That's
least.
where I lost it. Yeah.
And again, it was a very short thing, but it was very well done. But overall, like I think you just see the care he put into this, and for that, it's like a very, very good book.
Yeah, I think the epilogue really like the Lebowski rug, it really tied the room together.
Nice.
And I think that that's like in terms of rating the book, like I also gave it 4 stars on Goodreads because like I have told people about this book already, and I think I will tell people about it, but it is like is a little bit more niche.
Yeah.
And I think that it is an important story to tell, like you were saying, but I think that it isn't always gonna land, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's people that this wouldn't land for. Like, I'm trying to look at those 5 stars at this point. It's like I know I'm going to hand this book to anybody, and they're going to go with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Or
yeah,
like I loved this book so much, I'm gonna tell everyone about it, or I'm gonna think about it for a long time. I
yeah,
will say that the epilogue tying everything together for me really did keep it in my consciousness a lot longer than other books, but
I agree. I think we needed that full character arc
yes,
for all of them. So
yes,
I did appreciate that we landed there. So for me, it's a dirty 20. So overall, that's a 19 and a half, which is probably one of the highest rated books we've done so far this year. So
yeah.
definitely worth reading. And I will say, like, as I mentioned before, I'm not sure if you're recording or not, but like having read the Southern Housewife's Guide to Vampire Slaying or whatever it is, like I knew that his writing was something I was interested in. So when I think you brought up this story, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I could do that. And it definitely didn't disappoint. So for the last time, the book was
Witchcraft for
Witchcraft.
Wayward Girls.
Hey, Taj has got it. Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. And the paperback just came out, so you can find that
Nice.
literally anywhere. And on that note, we move away from the book, but we're not quite done with the podcast yet. We move into our segments, which starts with current selection. Tasha, what else have you been reading or getting into?
So I've started listening to, I'm like maybe halfway through Shift, the
Oh, nice.
second of the Silo series. Um, Listening to it is a nice way to consume it. It's pretty intense. Like I read Wool so long ago that I'm like I feel like I'm missing things. Um, and like connections that I should be making, I'm not making. But it's still really good. It's so dystopian, it's a little painful.
Well, it is wild because of how. So I read Shift and what is it, Dirt or something's the last
Oh,
one?
the last
Like
one.
last year, I think it was. And like it is jarring. And honestly, the reason I read it was I've really been enjoying the Silo show on Apple.
Well, I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, you should. Also,
Okay.
Rebecca Ferguson's incredible. But they just started touching on in the last, like the season finale of the last season, they like go back to present time, and I was like,
Oh,
what the fuck is this about? And then that's kind of what Shift,
yeah.
shows you. So I'm not sure where the show's going to go with it, but like normally I hate that stuff. I will say like I found it interesting just because again, it's like that peek behind the curtain where it's like here's the story of
Yeah, exactly. Here's kind of like the why of things.
yeah.
Yeah, so far so good. And then I'm still reading the Murderbot book like while I'm watching my show, but I've been not watching so much of my show lately because Barry and I are knee deep in The Pit.
I noticed.
I saw you've watched it all. Oh my God, it's amazing. Like
It is
we start an episode and then like 4 episodes later we're like, "Oh my God, it's 11 p.m. We need to go to bed."
so like again seeing it and then being like the next day being like oh they did like 3 episodes, all right, good, 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 good. That's how it works.
Yeah, Barry like we watched them last night and we started and he was like, "We're already on episode 7." And I was like, "Yeah, man, like we are flying through it. It's so good." Like I love Noah Wiley. I'm a big ER fan. Um, and I'm pretty sure in an episode we watched last night, he made a reference to like the first time I whatever, and I'm pretty sure it was an episode of ER that he was
Nice.
referencing. Um, but yeah, it's so well done. I love how like practical the effects are because I love that shit.
Yeah.
Like when they have like a beating heart, like it's just really amazing. Like they cut the guy's finger bone, like crazy stuff. It's so good, and I'm glad they were winning awards, and yeah, I'm very impressed.
So obviously it's dramatized, like to be more exciting. But Sully, who does work in a
Yeah.
hospital ER part time, is like that's how it is.
It's
Like,
so, yeah, that's, I've heard like NPR stories about how like people in like real doctors and
yeah.
nurses and stuff are like, this is the most accurate that has ever existed.
So I haven't watched season 2 yet because we have to wait for it all to come out before Amanda will get into it. But
Oh my gosh, Amanda's watching it too.
so we watched it, yeah, same. It's basically what you're going through with Barry. We watched it same way, and it was just like,
Yeah.
okay, we're not going to stop, right? Nope.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the doctors mentioned that you haven't gotten to it yet, but they did a procedure in later on in season 1, and the actual doctor who did that procedure, because it's not routine, sent them the paper they wrote about it because they were forced to do it in the moment, and now she has that, which is like just a
Whoa.
cool way of like how it's very realistic and it's pulling
Yeah.
from real life. So yeah, I heard a lot about the pit before we actually watched
Me
it. And then
too.
watching it, I was like, holy shit,
It
yeah,
lives up to the hype for sure.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and then what I saw when we got onto HBO to watch The Pit, that there's some new like bowling documentary, and I'm gonna watch the fuck out of that. So
Nice, nice, nice.
that's what I have on deck.
For me, getting back to books that we're currently selecting, I read The Falcon Throne by Karen Miller, and this had been on my TBR for probably like 3 or 4 years. So she had written The Innocent Mage and something else,
Mm.
which I gave to you.
Mhm.
And there was another duology that was part of that I read as well. And I was like, okay. And then like this was the new one. I was like, all right, great. Um, it came out in 2014, and it was supposed to be a trilogy or like 4 books, and it never
Got
continued.
beyond that one.
So because of that, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to read this, but I had already paid for it, and I'm trying to do that thing where it's like this has been sitting. You need to like shit or get off the crapper.
Good for you.
So I read it, fucking loved it, of
Ooh,
course, because there's no more of it.
of course.
It's like a fantasy novel, but it's all about like intrigue and deceit, and it's like it's this very small island nation that used to be one kingdom that was separated into two, and it's about like how both of those kingdoms are now going through change and how they're always against each other and how one of them wants to like reunite them all like by force, and
Mhm.
the other one wants to continue their independence, and how like outside forces are causing them to like go their different
Interesting.
ways. There's like a fucking usurping that happens in the first few chapters, and it like sets up, it leaves off where like, so I'll just tell you about it. During the usurping, the child of like the king or whatever, the duke, is thought to be killed, but really his wet nurse runs away with him,
Poor thing.
and like leaves the body of another infant in his crib, so they think it's him, whatever. He then
Okay.
grows up in like the marshes, they call them, which is the no man's land between the two kingdoms, at an innkeeper, and becomes like basically is like the brother of the innkeeper's child, who's like his
Yep.
same age, close enough, whatever. The story ends with the guy who usurped that kingdom being rowed away from battle with the kingdom that is trying to like claim everything as their own by the the child who is now grown. So like the true duke, who's now like 16, is rowing his usurper duke away. And
But
it's
he doesn't know that. Does he know who he is?
he did, and in the moment he chose to save the usurper, because they're also like cousins, chose to save him because he thought he was honorable rather than kill him. So it's like this whole thing, it's like left as a giant
Listen.
cliffhanger for 12 years. Turns out, I Googled, I was like, why not? Why no more right good? And the only book they have come out with afterwards was about their experience as a sister wife in a community and how it did not go well. So,
Okay, so explanation of why those books didn't get written.
yep, there's that.
Holy shit.
Yeah, which is upsetting because I want to know. But also, they've obviously gone through things. I'm
They've
like,
got
do I read that book so I know why she didn't write more books? I'm like, nah, I don't think I want to read that book.
When you were describing that, I was like, okay, so it's the Prince of Egypt.
But it was great. I mean, it was great that I really enjoyed it. But again, it was like,
That's frustrating. Yeah.
it was also chunky. It was like 700 pages. So
Ooh.
yeah, I'm trying to invest in these things. I'm also trying to make room on my bookshelf. So I was like, that's a
Yeah.
big one. Let's get rid of
Chunky
that.
books. Yeah, that's helpful.
The other book I read, which was not chonky, was The Greatest Beer Run Ever, which was also a movie on HBO. This was a Christmas gift from Sully. He wanted me to read it to, I guess, tell him the difference. I mean, he's also such a big fucking nonfiction nerd. Uh,
Yeah.
so I will say, I already knew the story. If you didn't, it's about this guy from New York City that his neighborhood decides that like while the other guys in the neighborhood are serving in Vietnam, they need to know that people are supporting him because everything on the news is about protests and everything else. So he decides to go over to Vietnam. He's a merchant mariner, so he gets on a ship that is headed that way and takes some shore leave to like deliver a beer to his friends and tell them like have a beer with you, like hey, we still support you. It's like a pretty incredible story. Um, in the movie, he's played by Zac Efron. How could you not? Am I right? In the book, he like comes off a little bit too much at times. It's like I don't know, a little annoying. The
Wait,
difference
who
between
wrote it? Did he write it?
he wrote it with help.
Okay.
So yeah. And the big difference is like in the book or in the movie, he like it doesn't seem like he stays in Vietnam very long. Like he does the thing and then he's there for the beginning of the Tet Offensive and then he like gets out. In the book, he ends up in Vietnam for like months because he gets stuck by bureaucracy.
I'm
And
sure.
he's there for a lot of the Tet Offensive and he does some other things while he's there and like trying to survive and like it's harrowing uh, whatever that's so rude to say but eventually he does make it back to the States so it just like I don't know it wasn't different enough for me to be like okay this was great I just kind of felt like I've heard this story like no offense
Yeah.
guy but so long story long watch the movie it'll give you enough of it.
Okay, cool.
So there is that. Moving on, our next segment is random recommendation, and this is an old one that I pulled up. The book is Blackfish City by Sam J. Miller, which I think I gave to you at one point. You might still have it. I appreciated this because it was a very different and interesting take on dystopian future where corruption and class structure is like very hyper focused on. The cover caught my eye and the book didn't disappoint, is what I wrote in March of 2022. Uh,
Nice.
I do remember it was like about basically in the future the world had drowned. Sound familiar? And this was like I think they had like built out civilizations on like old oil rigs or something similar to
Waterworld.
that.
It's Waterworld.
It was Waterworld, but they were more like there was more stationary structures. It wasn't so much boats.
Got it.
And I just remember like even in this moment where like everybody is trying to like survive, there's still a hierarchy and there's still like people fucking corrupting the system and pushing down on those who have less and making sure they have less and just really focusing on how like no matter what like this is why for those of you going to see Project Hail Mary this week Project Hail Mary makes no sense because we would not come together. We just
Nope, we're the
fucking
worst.
wouldn't. It's a great book.
We're
It's an
the worst.
incredible story. We would not come together. We just
Nope.
fucking wouldn't.
This is the only part that makes that story fiction.
Yes. Yeah. That is
The
it.
aliens, totally real. That coming together, fiction.
Nice. So on that note, we have one last thing to get to, which is what is on the next podcast. We have another surprise book for Taja. So if you want to unwrap that and tell us what is on the next podcast, we will get into that.
Ooh. Aleph the Unseen. by G. Willow Wilson.
Yes, I was calling it A Leaf. I don't know if that's it or not,
Oh,
but
I don't know.
The Unseen. So this was another one that during that Christmas time where my store was doing buy one get one free. This was one that they had. I ended up getting a second one for Taja, and it grabbed my eyes for a bunch of different reasons. Just reading about it, it had good reviews on Goodreads, but the thing I'm going to read from the Austin Chronicle is a fantasy thriller that takes modern Islamic computer hackers fighting against state-based repression and entangles that with the fantastical jinn-riddled world of the 1001 Nights. Like a novelization of one of Joss Whedon's best Buffy episodes, crossed with a Pathé newsreel of the Arab Spring uprising. It is a page-turner.
Interesting.
So yeah, just another random. We'll see what happens. On the front, too, it says the energetic plotting of Philip Pullman, the nimble imagery of Neil Gaiman, and the intellectual ambition of Neil Stevenson. So quite a bit there. Let's see if it lives up to it. Again, it is A Leaf, The Unseen by G. Willow Wilson. And that is something that we will get into on the next podcast, which means that this episode is over. Thank you for sticking around with us if you did. If not, you won't hear this anyway. So, this has been the 115th episode of the ABC Pod, the Adult Book Club with Taja and Russell.
Keep reading.
reading.